Welcome to Amberg Acres. So we're just putzing around today. I want to bring up some logs so I can start milling flooring for in the barn there. Last spring, I mentioned in one of my videos that I wanted to talk about these fittings, these new fittings that I got for the tractor. They seem to be working pretty good. I still struggle a little bit getting them together and apart. But some of that is just me with my arthritis in my hands and whatever. It's not as easy as it looks, you know. But somebody, a younger guy that has full strength in his hands and arms, should have no issues with these fittings that I'm using. So let's take a look at these here. So these are called under pressure fittings. And the first thing you want to do is make sure they're clean. That's part of the issue, is that they get a little bit of grit in there or whatever, and then they don't want to go together. But the idea behind the under pressure is when you park your equipment, say like this grapple that I'm putting on right now, if I leave the grapple open or I don't have it closed all the way, as it sits there, the weight of that grapple wants to close the claw. It basically puts pressure on these hoses, you know. These two fittings, you know, I can shut the key off and then I can work the trigger and make the valve operate, and that's supposed to release the pressure from these two. But the pressure on the hoses you can't get rid of. So that's the idea behind these fittings, and my take on them is that they work really well compared to the standard pupate or ball. I think ball style and pupate style are two of the styles that you probably get on your tractor. So they work way better. I could not get the pupates together and apart. I mean, apart wasn't too bad, but getting them together, I could not do it. I had to buy that a clamp, and I'll put a link in there for the clamp also. But I could not get them together. So I thought I'd try these, and they're relatively expensive, and you'll see that in the link. But they do work much better than the standard pupate and ball type socket fittings. So I always put them on. And like I say, with all this ice and stuff you have here, right now this time of year, you want to get these nice and clean, and try to get them clean. So I always put them male, female, and then a female, male, you know, on the other one, so that my operation stays the same. I don't have to guess, or I don't have to put tape on here, so I know which one goes where. All right. If you look at your tractor hydraulics up there, they have tape on them, and that's fine. You know, that's supposed to let you know where, if you take that apart, that they go back in the right spot, so all your functions work the same. So this is what I do, is I just do a male, female, female, male. And what this has, and I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a little detent ball right there, okay? That has to be lined up in order to get these together and apart. So basically, you just push on them, and they click. Now this can turn, and that kind of locks it in place, so it can't accidentally, if a branch hits it, it can't unrelease, you know, unlock. So hopefully you can see it there better. There's a little detent ball there, and that, when that pops together, that pulls this out, and then you can turn this, and that locks it in, okay? So most days when I'm feeling good, I can get these to go. I can get these together and apart without using that clamping unit. So that's what I like about them, because a lot of times I'm just rushing from one thing to the other, and I want to come up there and I want to hook up to the grapple, and I don't want to sit there and have to go find that clamp, which is in my toolbox somewhere. It just makes it easier. So these are called under pressure fittings. I believe they're by Summit. but don't quote me on that. Yes, right there, I see it right there. It is, they are by Summit. Okay, Summit Hydraulics. So I will try and find a link and put a link in the description for these here fittings. So they do work. So if you have a tractor like mine or a skid steer or whatever you're using hydraulics on, they're called under pressure and they work really well. And there's two styles now. There's another style that looks just like this, but they're shorter. And those are not under pressure. Those are just standard fittings. So I don't know how those work compared to the ones that are called under pressure. So these are made specifically for this type of setup where you're going to have pressure on your lines. And they work really well. So I use them for this grapple. My snow plow that I just took off. What else do I have them on? I don't know. There's something else I have them on. I can't think of it right at this moment. So that's where I use them on these couple of implements that I have. So we're supposed to have a stretch of warm weather here next couple days, 40-ish, you know, high 30s, 40. So that's good working weather, but it's raining right now, or it's going to be raining. It's real foggy and misty right now, but it's going to be raining later this afternoon. So I'm going to get the sawmill set up and I'm going to get some logs up here so I can start cutting flooring when we get probably Saturday and Sunday. It's supposed to be 40 and no rain. So I will try and get as much sawed as I can on those days. And that's what we're going to do today. We're just going to be putzing today, getting everything set up and getting everything ready to go. And then we'll start doing something. So this is what I have left of those logs I got last year. There's not a whole lot of big ones left in here. The little ones don't give you much. So I'm going to try and fish out, you know, the bigger ones, like the one on top there and the one right below it. All the bigger ones. And that's what I'm going to make flooring out of. I know this is going to be hard to see, but you see these holes through the bark. Everything's real frozen here and full of snow right now. But the logs are full of them, okay? So in Wisconsin here we have we have what's called a pine beetle. And I'll put a picture, if I can find a good picture of it. It's kind of a big long black bug with antennas on it. And they lay their eggs in there and then under the bark. And I've showed this in last year when I was cutting some logs. I peeled off some bark on a big white pine. And it was just hundreds of worms underneath there. Little white worms. So those little white worms are the larvae. And they burrow into the wood, into the logs. And by the time they're full grown, before they turn back into the bug, they're a good, you know, they got holes in the wood, you know, almost a ½ inch in diameter all the way through the log. And that's how they live. They survive off of eating the wood until they're ready to turn back into a bug. And then they crawl back out the hole and fly away. And the process starts all over again. But I cut this wood back in March of last spring. And so it's been sitting about 9 months. And every log, pretty much every log in this pile has holes in it from those beetles. So I don't know when it started. You know, I don't know. You know, obviously they're probably not doing it now. It was probably during the summer. As soon as the weather got warm, they probably were in it right away. As soon as the weather got warm, they were in these logs starting to lay their eggs and eat. It's a problem we have here in Wisconsin. So when you get stuff like the red pine and the white pine, you got to pretty much, you know, cut it up right away is the best time if you don't want these holes in it. It really doesn't hurt anything. It may have a little structural damage if you're using it structurally. So you have to pick and choose your boards, I guess, is what I'm saying. I'll try and do a snapshot or something if I get a board that's really bad with holes. Most of them aren't that bad. But some of them are. Some of them have a lot of holes all the way through, and it looks like Swiss cheese on a certain log every now and then. So I'll let you know if I find one that looks that way when I start cutting this stuff up. So here you go. Here's the first log. You can see how they just eat their way right through the wood. And then at some point they come back out as the bug. It doesn't always go all the way through. Sometimes it's just on the first couple inches. But there are some that go all the way through. You can see it's all the way down. There you go. I was able to get one that I didn't cut in half. So that's the larvae, and they just keep eating at the wood. They're pretty big bug. So I want to share with you how I go about leveling out my sawmill. Now this particular unit has the Woodlander trailer on it. So there's 2 wheels here, and then there's 6 6 crank down legs, and that's what you have to level the unit with. Okay, so I start with the 2 in the back here, right behind the wheels. I start with them, and I get them up so that it's somewhat level, going side to side, and the wheels are just, you know, slightly off the ground. And this all depends on what kind of surface you're on. I am just sitting on the ground here, on the ice, whatever you want to call it right now. So by tomorrow, if this melts, because we're supposed to get rain tonight, if this melts, I may have to re-level it a little bit, you know, because the legs might sink into the snow a little bit, or the mud, or whatever. But I start with these 2 back legs, and I get this back section level side to side, and get these tires off the ground just a little bit. Okay, that tire's spinning right now. So I'm going to put my level across there. So that side definitely needs to come up. All right, so it is level this way right now, okay? So now I want to look the other direction. I want to go this way with it. So right now it's telling me that the back here has to go up. So I'm going to crank this one up here until I'm level with the rest of the trailer. It is currently sitting on the 2 front ones up there. The middle ones are not touching. So that wheel is off the ground and spinning. So now I'll recheck from side to side here. And that side there definitely has to go back up again. All right, so as you can see, we're level side to side. And we're pretty close going forward, right? So now we're gonna go to the next, between this bunk and that bunk, and see what we're at. So if you look there, it needs to go up just a little bit over on this side. It has to go up. Now we're straight that way, okay? So we check it from side to side on this one. And it's pretty good. So I'm just gonna go take that leg and put it down just until it touches, and I ain't gonna crank on it at all. Okay, so it is straight that way now on these 2 bunks. And it is straight. And it is straight across, sideways. So now as we move forward, it should be level, because we leveled it with it sitting on those front legs, right? So it's been sitting on those front legs the whole time. So we do need to check that front bunk there and get it level side to side. So it's pretty close. It needs to go up on that one right there. So now we basically have it straight. It's level this way. And if we look at the level, it is level from this bunk to this bunk. And then we just go down and double check them all. Perfectly level. Perfectly level. Perfectly level. So, and that's all there really is to it. Okay? Your saw and your track, this should all have been, when you put this together, this should have all been checked, okay? So that your rails and your bunks match up. So when I move this each time, all I have to do is level my bunks and my saw should be cutting fairly straight, okay? And if it isn't, then you got to go back to your original procedure when you put this together and make sure that these rails are straight again. And start from there, shim your bunks so that your bunks are all level to your rails, and you shouldn't have any issue, you know, re-leveling this each time you move it, okay? Now, if you're dropping logs on it, you know, whatever you're hitting it with the tractor, whatever, that could be part of your problem if it's not straight after a while. That's all I can really tell you. But I haven't had an issue. My boards come out pretty nice, except for the wavy lumber I get because of dull blades. For the most part, this should be all you have to do to get your machine level and ready to go each day. So that takes what, 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you know, each day in the morning. Just check your bunks. All right, so we're ready to start sawing. I got a gasser up, put some coolant in it, and we're ready to get some logs sawed up. All right, guys, we are all set to start sawing tomorrow, and we'll get these logs all set up, all sawed up. Yeah, and that's it. That's the process. So if you're having issues, go back to your original setup and make sure your rails are level to your bunks, and then each time you set it up after that, you should just have to level your bunks, and the saw should follow the way you have it set up. So if you like these videos, you know, give me a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.